Every single prayer has an uncertain outcome.
This prayer right here is probably one of the most important.
There's a little bit of a assumption that what God's going to give us will be the worst possible scenario.
That's terrifying and heartbreaking.
I guarantee if you pray that, you will have some things come to light. This is how you experience freedom. Don't be scared of it. Go do it.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Live Change Podcast. Today we're talking about risky prayers, maybe even dangerous prayers. These are the prayers that I'm sometimes afraid to even ask of God because I don't want to know his answer. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm with Jason and Joanna.
Hey.
But we're going to start out with, I thought this would be fun. What is the riskiest thing you've ever done? I'll start.
Are you talking to the listeners right now? Or
Yeah,
are you talking to us?
Well, yeah. Oh my gosh, that's actually a good idea. Leave a comment on the riskiest thing you've done. Riskiest thing I've ever done. You were there.
I was.
You were there.
I have no clue where you're going.
Because I'm very risk averse. I don't take a lot of risks. Even at restaurants, I'm like, too risky.
Oh my gosh.
You order the same thing every time?
Yeah, exactly. But
I've actually been to restaurants with you, and what you do is you ask every time, you ask the server, what should I order?
Absolutely. This is absolutely something I do at every restaurant.
Yeah.
Do you know why?
No.
They should know.
How often do you actually listen? Is that the risky part?
Every time.
Oh, that's risky because then you get someone that's really excited about the best thing we have is the tuna soup.
But imagine,
like,
though, in just any other scenario in life, someone doing that to you, how much pressure and
As the server?
yes. Like what should I order?
I
don't know. What do you? I have I've never met you. I don't know anything about you. Do you have allergies? Will you die if you eat peanuts?
I will. Key questions they should ask.
They don't. I've never heard them ask you any of those questions.
Here's what I do. I say, what's something really popular on the menu?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's fair. That's a good question. But I've heard people say, what should I order? Or what would you recommend I order? I've heard that.
Because now sometimes they do recommend something that I just find disgusting. And I'm like,
because they don't know you.
I laugh and then I'm like, I'll have the steak.
Yeah, exactly.
I just recommend the most expensive thing and just call it a day.
When you were, you were
No.
a server.
See, but that's what I would do.
I'm
I would just
afraid of servers doing that, but I always watch, and you can really trust them when they say that the most expensive thing is just okay.
What is the riskiest thing?
Riskiest thing I ever did that you were there. We used to go to camp beside a creek.
Take our students.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was this
not me and you.
There was this cliff jump. Do you remember this? That
I do.
We would run on this slippery cliff and jump into the creek. And it was, I remember them telling us, like, hey, okay, you see that, and that? Don't jump there. You'll die.
Yeah.
But just aim for that small hole.
4 foot by 4 foot.
Yeah. As long as you hit that hole, you're fine.
Yeah.
Anywhere else, you're going to ruin your weekend.
my word. If you guys were a student that went to this camp, spam the comments. I survived.
Exactly. Because that camp was different back then. We did caving and cliff jumping.
Oh man, yeah, it was. Mine is related. Actually, it was cliff jumping.
Was it?
But not the same.
Did you also go in a creek? It was
in New Hampshire, and it was with students. We used to take our 8th graders who were going to the 9th grade up to New Hampshire and for a week, and we went to the same spot every single time. And it was a river that was moving swiftly, and it had about probably a 45 foot, maybe higher, maybe 60 feet cliff that jumped into.
It's always bigger later.
This was high. This truly was high, and we would jump, but we had to because the water was moving so swiftly. I remember Daryl Kaiser, who was EMT certified and all that, and trained. And
we always did have medical personnel.
Yeah, we did.
That's important.
I remember Daryl Kaiser putting a rope downstream to catch. Like you had to jump, then you had to come up quickly and find the rope, because if you didn't, that river made a turn and you were gone. So
out to sea.
Any parents listening today, we do not do these kinds of things in our current.
And you know what? And it's a shame. Our kids are worse off for it. We got a bunch of
There's not enough cliff jumping. Now it's like there's a diving board with 3 lifeguards in front of it.
Yes. All right, Joanna. riskiest thing you've ever done?
The only thing that's coming to mind is one time I got on one of those planes that's like not a full-size plane. To be clear, not a biplane.
Okay.
But also like, those ones that are like for connecting flights where you go onto the
the
tarmac.
riskiest thing you did was not ride a 747.
Yeah, pretty much.
Joanna, that doesn't count.
I'm just not risky.
I appreciate
apparently
you're risk averse. You don't
I guess if that's what the opposite of being risky is.
Yeah,
would you have jumped off those cliffs?
No way.
You wouldn't have jumped off those cliffs, Joanna.
100% no.
If we get,
You're not Enneagram 7. Are you an Enneagram 7?
I am not. I'm a 3.
Joanna, if 1,000 people comment on this episode, would you go skydiving?
Oh, we could, or just jump off a cliff.
Yeah,
No.
would you?
We could film it.
Like
No.
we all go and we go skydiving or cliff jumping. You
Guys,
wouldn't do
I
it?
went to Sky Zone last night with my daughter, and like
Not the same.
that's not. I still don't enjoy some of those things. It's like, why would I jump off of
Now,
this
what do you mean don't
giant
enjoy
blow up
them?
balloon into a pit of other blow up balloons? Like I
Wow.
was, I
I'm
heard.
glad you're not in charge of the marketing for Sky Zone because that sounds like a not fun evening.
Hey,
Yes.
my June loved it. She had a blast. That is just not. I'm good,
You can jump off of this inflatable thing and other inflatable things for $50.
guys. And I hurt my shoulder a little. Here's a
Crazy.
risky thing I did.
What?
I
Don't even
walked
say you
across
tried
a
some-
frozen pond when we lived in Minnesota.
Oh gosh.
Well, that
doesn't
actually
count.
is kind of risky.
Yeah.
But in
It's
Minnesota, it's not. In
That's like
Minnesota,
what-
that's how you
It
get to
said-
school.
That's
The
like every
sign said-
8-year-old boy has done this.
The sign said not to.
Oh jeez.
Wait, whoa. I call foul. You grew up in the deep south. There ain't no frozen ponds down there.
We found them.
It would be riskier.
And we walked across them.
It'd
And
be
we-
riskier in the south.
Yeah, if you find a frozen pond in
We
Bama,
did. It got cold. And it wouldn't. The whole pond would not freeze over, just the edges, and we'd step out on that.
Oh, yeah, no. This one was all the way frozen. Had been for
we
months.
wanted to fall in.
that's a different. Hers is like ice road truckers.
Yeah.
Yours
No, I've
is-
seen
Yours
those
is
in
like
Minnesota.
floating ice cubes on the side of the
One
pond.
time
yeah.
I didn't wear boots outside and I almost got frostbite on my feet.
These don't count. None of these count.
But that's the
Solomon
life
did
you
that
grew
last
up
week.
in. So why are we talking about risky things and dangerous things when we're about to talk about prayer? The question I have is, can and what prayers are risky?
Yeah.
Like these are the kind of prayers that like I don't want to ask because I don't want to hear. Like, or I don't want to ask because I'm afraid of no answer. Or I don't want to talk to God in this way. And so I think we're going to delve into it to kind of understand what's underneath that and what are we jeopardizing or losing by not giving in to every prayer that we can ask God. I equate risky with it comes with an unknown outcome.
I was literally going to say uncertain outcome. That was yeah.
Basically, like it's like you could
You
do
don't
it,
know.
but you don't know.
I could
how
walk
it's gonna
across
end.
this pond. It's uncertain whether or not I'll fall in.
Yeah.
You know, I can jump out this plane.
But how can prayer be that?
Well, every single prayer literally has an uncertain outcome. I mean, in some ways, God, would you protect us? God, would you be with my mother-in-law as she struck? Like, God, we pray that you would heal this person. God, those are all uncertain outcomes of what will happen.
Yeah.
So, to me, it's risky. Certain prayers are riskier if you're, especially the more clear you are, or the more direct you are, or
Yeah.
the more specific you are, with God, the riskier it is because you're not guaranteed the outcome of what you're praying and you're putting your heart's desire out there for.
Yeah.
So it feels risky. I mean, it's I guess if it can feel risky in that sense.
So I imagine people are like, if I was listening, I'd be like, okay, I'm not totally sure I've encountered risky prayers. Could we like list off a couple of them? I wrote down, and we discussed this ahead of time. Like we came up with 5 that we felt were pretty risky. So can we just like talk about those and then let's unpack them? Okay. So we're talking about prayers of search me. You can have it, God. Let me be honest. I'm asking and I trust you. And we're going to talk about each and every one of those. But what does our fear of praying risky prayers reveal to us about God? For me, I think that I struggle with some of these prayers and different prayers at different seasons because I sometimes still revert back to an impression of God that God has thoroughly dispelled over the years. But I still go back to an image of God that is angry, that is quick to play gotcha. I still go back to an image of God where he's out to say, yeah, I got you, or a God that's petty. Like I go back to an image of God where he's petty, where he's like, like you're asking for this, but I'm going to do what I want, you know, and I think that that's a misconception. I've learned that it's not the God that is revealed to us through Jesus and the Bible, but I think some people go back to those misconceptions of God, and they forget who they're dealing with when they pray.
I totally relate to that, especially when I was younger, because there's a little bit of a assumption that what God's going to give us ultimately will be the worst possible scenario.
Yeah.
And so let's not ask. And I remember even as a kid, I grew up in a church, and there was here's how it played out. I'm not sure I want to ask God send me anywhere, because I know he's going to send me to the middle of nowhere. And it's like, but think about the assumption of God, he's going to put us in the worst possible thing.
Yes.
And so it's like, so again, it reveals a
or
theology.
he's going to take away the thing that I want.
Yeah, like, God, you can have my kids, but he's going to take them away.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of sadistic image of God do we have that we're like, I can't give God my kids, he'll take them?
Yeah, or if I say I'm open to going anywhere, he's going to send me to the worst. He doesn't work all things for our good. I don't mean happiness. I just mean for our good.
We're going to actually go one by one and just take a few moments to discuss what's at risk, what do we struggle with, how to relinquish each of these prayers. But before we do that, I want to make a really quick special announcement. Hey, don't worry. We'll be right back to our episode in just a moment. But if you love the Live Change podcast, we're excited to let you know we just launched a brand new email where we're sending out exclusive bonus content like group discussion guides. Also, it's the best way to make sure you never miss an episode of the Live Change podcast. Plus, you'll be the first one to know when a new one drops. How do you get this? Well, you just have to sign up now at the link in the description or on the show notes. And hey, while you're there, do me a favor. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. That helps us make sure that the content from the Live Change podcast gets out to a whole bunch of new people. So, all right, let's get back to our episode. Okay, so the first one, guys, is let's talk about God Search Me. So how do we do this? How do we actually begin to utter God Search Me? Why do we struggle with this one? Let's just take a moment and unpack the difficulty of Search Me.
I think because this one is really personal.
Yeah.
Like it's you. Like it's easy to even pray for others or, you know what I mean, for other circumstances. But this one has like direct implications to like, hey, like God basically revealing to you, yeah, you were a jerk today. And like you've got to do something about that.
Ooh, you hit on it. Because to pray this might mean you're wrong.
Yeah.
Or something about you is wrong. And I don't know about you, but I can be very selfish, self-interested, and I do struggle hearing that I'm wrong.
Yep, totally.
Yeah, so here's how that Psalm 139, 23, and 24, this is a great, again, if you're like, I don't even know how to start, just go literally read this out loud and just say it. Say it again and again. Then you're praying, right? This is what it says. It says, search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. Here it is. I mean, point out anything in me that offends you. Now just pray that and just sit in silence for about 4 or 5 minutes. Ooh. Point out anything in me that offends you. Mm-hmm. But then, here's a promise. And lead me along the path of everlasting life. I do that trusting that whatever it is you bring up, it's risky. I guarantee if you pray that and you sit there in silence for 4 or 5 minutes, you will have some things come to light. God's going to answer that prayer. Why? Mm-hmm. Because he wants he wants you to walk in freedom. Mm-hmm. And anything that we have that is putting a barrier between us and him or us and another person, he's like, that's not freedom. So this prayer right here might be the most important one for freedom, but it also is the most vulnerable one, because if he raises anything that offends you, how you spoke to your wife yesterday, you were an absolute jerk, and it's time to go back and make that right. Like you've got to go do something with that now.
I think this prayer right here is probably one of the most important, and our culture has completely eliminated it because we surround ourselves in echo chambers. You can always find a group that will tell you what you did was right. You can always find friends. If not in real life, you can find them online, but you can find people that say, good job.
Yeah.
No matter what you did, no matter who you are, no matter how you're living, you can find people that will say, good job.
Yeah, and if you're, and I think that's a good point, Chad. I mean, if you are evaluating the quality and the standard of your life based on the crowds around you, you are an idiot, and you are foolish in every way, and you will make destructive choices pretty quickly. The crowds are a horrible way to make choices in this life.
Yeah.
The only standard is God's word, and so what we're saying. That's the ultimate standard, right, for what it means to live a full life. So if that's true, then what that means is you're saying, God, test me in anything that offends you. I'm not asking, did it offend other people?
Yeah.
Meaning this, Ben and I say Ben and Jerry, Ben and Tommy and Jerry, they told me I was justified in doing all that. It's not, did it offend them?
Right.
It's, does it offend you? So that's what I'm saying. Like God will answer that, and His conscience, His Holy Spirit it'll do something to your conscience if you're honest about that. And then you need to go do something about it. This is how you experience freedom. Don't be scared of it. Don't be scared of it. Go do it.
I think there's a level of trust that this does with God too, because we're basically saying is, God, I know you're going to tell the truth. We have to believe that God's going to tell the truth, and also know that the truth will set us free.
And here's what I tell myself sometimes. I'm like, I don't want to pray that sometimes. I've had conflict with people, and I know there's something, and yet I already know there's something there, which is why I don't want to pray it.
Right.
So it's so dumb. It's like we're playing games that are just to make us feel better.
Yeah.
But every single time that's happened, I've also just gone, well, do I really want it in me? Like, yeah, it might be painful to ask that and to have some things, but if it's there, and it's hurting me or keeping me from experiencing free, do I really want that?
Yeah.
And
like, I don't want that.
And I think God is saying, when we pray, God, search me, He's saying, I'm going to show you some things because I love you. Not because, in spite of my love, but because of my love, I'm going to show you what you are blind to right now.
Yeah.
Or maybe just ignoring.
Yeah, and I don't want to miss something that you said a moment ago, because you said it pretty quickly, but I think it's really profound. You also have to then sit in it and wait for an answer.
Yes.
And so it's also that moment to then sit and hear. And so I think, and I know that, like, I know there are prayers we're going to pray a ton of times and we're not going to get the immediate answer. There are prayers even in that search me where we might not get the immediate light bulb. But if we're not stopping to take a moment to hear, like, also let's just not miss out on that, right? So like, even in like an analogy with your kids, like, they don't ask you for something and then run the other direction. Like, they stand there and wait.
Yeah.
And so I think,
word picture.
Yeah, I think you highlighted that too. And like, when you pray that, then you need to sit in it.
Yes.
And wait.
Yeah.
And hear.
That's not one that you go, that's not a prayer on the fly. Some of them are, but that's not one. It's like, search me and know my anxious thoughts. Hey, babe, turn on Severance. Like, you know what I mean? So here's one other exercise that could help. Because, like, if you just say, God, point out anything in me that offends you, that's very, like, there's a lot going on in my life. Yeah. Imagine, though, in those moments, like, pray that and basically walk through in your mind as you're praying, be quiet, and almost go room to room. So maybe I go, like, you think about it like rooms, or categories is another way of saying it. So let's start with my family. Now I'm thinking about Jenny. Now I'm thinking about my kids. God, point out anything that offends you. That's a little bit more specific. And now I've got to think about, is there anything I've said recently? Is there any way? Okay, you kind of move through that. It's like, I want to go to work now. God, point out anything that offends me. Think through your meeting schedule, or that offends you. Think through your meeting schedule. Now ready? Let's go personal. Are you being stupid? Are you looking at dumb stuff? Are you allowing... how are you treating women and the way you think about them? like give him my mind, like move categories sometimes, and that gets a little bit more specific as opposed to point out anything in me.
I love that.
So I think that can be helpful sometimes to break it down by relationships and by settings, I guess.
Yeah.
I also think there's something good about starting to tackle some of the other things, because maybe there's one thing that you know God is telling you to eliminate. But when God can reveal some of the other things you've ignored because of the big one, and you start working on the other little ones, sometimes the big one becomes more manageable.
Yes. Yeah.
Because sometimes the big one it makes us act differently on all the other ones. So I
and what do you do if he brings something up? You confess it. You confess it vertically first. So if he brings something up and you know it, you say, I need your forgiveness, God. Well, haven't I already been forgiven, because I've became a Christian? I placed my faith in Jesus. Absolutely. We're talking about a different thing. We're talking about Silas is my son, is my son, is my son. But there are things he can do to put a wedge between our relationship. Doesn't change that he's my son, but it does change how intimate we can be. And so we confess in those moments because we've drifted from the heart of our Father, our Heavenly Father. And so we confess it. And if it is with another person, you go make it. You confess to them. You make it right. That takes courage.
This whole,
but you know what takes. One. But you know what sucks when you don't do it and you hide, and you've got crud in between you and another person. Hiding will never. This is why David said in the Psalms, when I refused to confess my sins, my bones wasted away. I withered away. Like, you can't hide and make it through this life. People would rather take their lives than live with secrets. Obviously, that happens all the time. You weren't made for that. Wow. So man up and go confess, and you will experience freedom. And it'll be the worst thing you ever did and best thing you ever did.
That's a call. That's a powerful call. And again, you get the relationship with God out of it as well. But what about when we don't want to relinquish something? So it's one thing to look inward and say, myself. But then there's the important things. The things like my career, my children, my education, the school I want to go to, God, you can have all of that, but you can't have this. So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
When we withhold because it's too dangerous, too risky.
Yeah. I mean, some of that I think is just like fear is in the mix of that, because it's just, if it's not ultimately what you want or what you're hoping for, right? So if it's like a sick family member, what if the answer isn't healing?
Yeah, that's right.
Like, that's terrifying and heartbreaking. But like, what if it's like your kids? I mean, it's funny, like even Finn, he's been trying to get more independence and like
he wants to go visit these 5-star restaurants.
Yeah. And whether that's like him feeling safe enough to like stay home for a little bit by himself, or, hey, can I walk to school today alone?
I love this guy.
It's like, that's awesome. But even that is like, then as a parent, it's like, oh my goodness, Lord, I know it's only 2 blocks, but like, please make sure he gets to school okay.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it could be as simple as like, God, I trust you with Finn's walk to school today, or like, I trust you for a relative that like, I don't know what the outcome of their scenario is going to be. And that's scary.
Yeah, that is scary. Because God, here's the irony, Joanna, of what you said. God is the giver of Finn to you. And it's like, now, can I see Finn? And you're like, no.
Right.
It's like when you give a kid a Christmas present and you're like, I gave you this really expensive Christmas present. And you're like, I love it. And God's like, can I see it? Absolutely not. You might break it.
Right.
I gave it to you.
Yeah.
I'm the one that entrusted you with it.
Yep.
How silly.
Right.
And yet I am guilty of it.
Yep. And I am not naive enough to know that like on this side of heaven, that there's also not pain and evil and things that will seek and destroy, right?
Totally.
And so to live in that tension of like, God, I trust you with everything I have. And I also have to be open-handed that you're going to continue to work it out like in your plan.
Exactly, because when we say, God, I trust you with everything, it's not I trust you to do what I would do.
Yeah.
it's God, I trust that no matter what happens, you're good.
Yeah.
And you're loving and you're faithful.
But I think some person is like, what if something did happen?
Mm-hmm.
What do you do then?
Yeah.
Like they're afraid to pray that prayer because, Joanna, they're like, God forbid that something happens on that walk.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I know that there are enough things, and I'm sure you guys have your own stories, right? I mean, I remember it like it was yesterday, begging God to not cause a miscarriage. And I don't even mean cause, right? I'm
don't
more,
let it happen.
Right. Don't let it happen. Right. And it happened twice.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But I also remember on that 4th pregnancy with Junie praying that same prayer. And though she's a wild card, like, we have her and we love her, and I couldn't imagine my life without her. And so, like, I don't know what to do with that, right? Like, I know that there are just going to be things on this side of heaven that I'm not going to understand, and they're going to be painful. But that doesn't mean that, like, God has left me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a passage here, Luke 9, where Jesus says, if you want to be my follower, you got to give up your own way of life, take up your cross, follow me. But then what he says after that, he says, if you try to hang on to your life, like, God, I'm going to manage. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to release. I'm not going to say you can have. I'm going to try to manage it. He says, you'll lose it. At the end of the day, you'll lose it. But if you give up your life for my sake, you'll save it. So this can go in a lot of different directions. But I mean, even recently, as in like a year and a half ago or so, I knew pretty specifically that God was asking me to, from a money standpoint, to give to something, give to someone, really. And
was it me?
It was not you.
Oh.
No. And it was painful, like the amount, and for me, and that was not easy. Like fought, wrestled with God about, like, rationalize it. And yet I'm sitting there going, God, you can have all my life, right? Just not that area, kind of like we just said earlier, Chad. But do I believe in that moment? And eventually, and it took time, it eventually opened up my hands, but it was really hard. But that's you can try. Jesus is kind of saying, you can hang on to it. You might not get the life I have for you. Like, you might lose something because you're unwilling, but you can do that. Or you can be willing to go, God, you can have it all and trust me. And you might find a different kind of life. It does come with risk. And when I say risk, I mean, it won't turn out. You just talk to that, right? But there's a kind of richness of life that you have now in your relationship with God. It doesn't make it easier. It doesn't make it understandable. Yep. But you also can't deny that reality that there's a faithfulness you've experienced through it that you have today, and there's even for me, and letting go as well.
And also, we graciously explained to Junie that she probably wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Nowhere in my mind was I planning on having 4 children. And so there is, like, something I don't know, right? Like, I don't know why God did it the way that it happened. I don't know why.
And in cosmic accounting, you got to see we have Junie. Some people never get the Junie in this world. Yep. And that's why it's a risky prayer. But
it is. But again, if you think about it just rationally for a second, like, we don't have control over anything anyways. And the you can have prayer is in some ways a recognition of, I'm trusting you because I can't, like, what can you do anyways? You can't do anything about that.
Yep.
So you walked through that with God, at least. That same circumstances could hit someone, and they're just not even walking. So what do you hold on to then?
Yep.
So, Joanna, but when we talked a second ago, I mentioned, but you have Junie. How do you unpack that for someone that maybe doesn't?
Yeah. First, I would say that's a really hard thing. And I actually don't know how that will play out for you. But what I do know is that God is still in it with you and continuing to pray for him to reveal himself and his plan to you, right? And so I think sometimes in risky prayers, you also have to be open-handed enough that it just may not look the same way, but that doesn't mean that God doesn't have something for you in the midst of something really painful. And what you were hoping and dreaming and wishing for isn't going to come to you and your family in a different way. And so that could be in the area of infertility, or that could be in a multitude of areas, right? But
I know parents that have prayed for healthy children and their children have unique needs.
Totally.
And it's like, that's not the life I had intended.
Right. Or the thing that you've envisioned. But God is still in it, and God will continue to reveal yourself. And I think that just that closeness and leaning into his plan, it will continue to surface itself in ways that, I don't know, like my prayer would be that are better than you could have imagined on your own.
Love that. So let's talk about the polished prayer. This is the squeaky clean prayer where we want to dress our prayers in Sunday best, and we don't actually authentically come to God with an honest heart because we're withholding stuff, or maybe we're like, God, we don't want to share our true feelings about our neighbors, our friends, our loved ones, the current situation I'm in, maybe our emotions towards God. We don't want to tell God we're mad at him. We don't want to tell God we have doubts. We don't want to tell God because he's too fragile to handle those things. What do you say about that?
I would say, again, let the Psalms be a guide on this. There are Psalms that say, are you even listening, God? I mean, literally, are you even here? Did I waste all of this? Was all of this in vain? All this faith stuff I've done? This is what you find in the Psalms.
In the Psalms, someone said, God, are you even real?
Are you even listening?
Are you even listening?
Or do well, listen to this. Now this is talking about sort of, I guess, in a different sort of framing, but this is in Psalm 142:2. It says, I pour out my complaints before God, and I tell him all my troubles. So he's saying, this is what I do. I come before God, and I just bring it all to you. I'm not happy with this. I wish this was different. How could you do this? Well, I mean, think about the other prayers. Think about Jeremiah does this. I think Isaiah does this. I think
Jonah
Elijah does this. I think Jonah. Well, what I'm about to say, where he says, "Why was I even born?"
Oh,
like
that many people said, "Why was I even?"
Well,
born?
I know what Jeremiah did. I'm pretty sure Isaiah did. We can look that. I guess we can check that. Elijah, when he was in his most depressed state, asked God to kill him. Wow. He goes, "Take my life." Job. I mean, these are like people going, I don't even want to be here, God. So that's pretty real. Yeah. That's pretty honest. God's not offended by that. God's like, how dare you? I gave you the sacred gift of life. And you say, no. God, what does he do with Elijah? He feeds him. That's his response. He provides him bread. It's like, I hear you. I'm sorry that you're feeling this way. Let me feed you. And then he gives him rest. And then he gets him talking. By the way, all things that modern day counseling would say is like the way out of depression. So, body health stuff, and then rest, and then talking. So God is so brilliant.
So how does God? How do you? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. You.
How do you rectify? Or I'm sorry. How do you reconcile when God in the Bible seems to answer people differently? So, for instance, one person is bringing their concerns to God and being real with God, and God says, here's some bread, let's get you up, let's get you dusted off. And then you got Job, where Job's like, how could you do this, God? And God's like, who are you? Yeah. Who are you? You weren't there. And so I think all of us, or at least for me, I'm afraid of the Job God, not that God's going to give me a cookie God. I'm afraid of the Job God, that he's going to be like.
Well, you should have a healthy fear. There should be an awe and reverence. It is a tension. This is the God of the universe, and yet Jesus has brought us into a personal relationship with. So we're under Jesus. So there's an intimacy, right? We relate to him as our heavenly Father. What I would say is there's a difference between. Okay, what did the psalmist say? I pour out my complaints to you. There's a difference between complaining and criticizing. Now, it's probably the same difference between someone who's skeptical and someone who's cynical. Skeptical is, I'm not sure. Cynical is, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
And this is all about so I think God's response sometimes is like, you're not complaining, you're criticizing. You're not being skeptical. I can handle that. You've made assumptions about my character. And I think there's a difference between the two.
That makes sense.
So I want to come openly and honestly complaining and saying, God, I feel this way and yada, yada, yada. But that's different than, you can't do anything, God. You can't change this. You can't. If you were real, you wouldn't. It's very subtle.
I see it though. I do see the differential line. And
complaint is actually born in faith. Complaint is, I know you can do this, so why aren't you?
Yeah.
God will hear that all day long. But see, that's different than, you can't do this.
Do you think he'll still hear that?
I think he'll hear everything, but I think his response, I'm saying, I think that might be the, where were you? You might get on that one, the response of, where were you when I formed the foundation? You think you know so much? Where were you when that's the Job response. I think I don't even know why I was born, God. I know you can change things, but you won't. That's the rest, my dear son.
And remember, like where Job, you had to go you had to go through to get to the other side of it. And Job had to hear, where were you, before God was like, all right, now here's everything back.
Yeah, true.
Like, you know what I mean? Like God was basically
grace.
Like,
he still gave grace.
I'm gonna have some words with you.
Yeah.
And then when I'm done, I'm going to take care of you. But I think also in that whole story of Job, where he's like lost everything, I think he questioned. I think God started feeling too small.
Yeah.
And lacking power. And I think God almost in that moment too was like, you need to see how big your God is for a second.
Yeah, because see, there's a difference between, again, if you were good, you would do this. That's a different posture than, I know you're good. Why aren't you doing this? It's subtle. Those are two different postures.
And
maybe an easy analogy for parents, at least, is like, there are times when my kid, I know the difference when my kid comes to me genuinely asking, and like, even though they're being, and somebody like, that's disrespect. It's like, no, I know the difference between disrespect and they're complaining out of a heart of like, I don't understand this, Dad. Why? You can tell. It's like, why can't I do what my friends can do? And you, depending on the posture of the heart, like one will get a different response than the other. And it's like, well, how do you, I don't know. You just know.
It reminds me of the story of the centurion, like the centurion that even said, like, I don't believe. Help me with my unbelief.
Yeah.
You know,
and Jesus is like, oh, I can work with that.
He's like, I'm just going to tell you, I'm not sure I believe all this. Will you help me with that?
Yeah.
And Jesus is like, okay.
We can work with that all day.
Thank you for your honesty.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
but I probably I'm curious, your guys, like you can start from that place though. From the place of like, well, where were you? Right? Like, do you like there? I feel like I think too, there's an aspect of like, I get for some folks listening, like that also might be the only words they have. And so,
yeah.
I think God would want us to start, even if those are the only words we have, God would still want us to start talking to him, right?
Anytime we're talking to God, it's like, this is a good thing. Yes. Jesus on the cross said, why, my God, why have you forsaken me? I mean, think about that. That's pretty, he's saying, you left me behind. He thinks, in that moment, he's completely abandoned. So anyways, yeah.
So let's talk about asking God for big things. So like, this is the one that is going to be hard. This is going to be a hard one to talk about because this is about the healing. This is about, like, I'm not just praying, like, I don't mind praying for a parking spot because my faith isn't shaken when it doesn't show up.
Well, maybe unless you're at Costco.
Yeah, have you?
No, yeah. This is my brother-in-law is addicted to heroin, and it started with opiates, and he's addicted to heroin now. And we, how do I pray for his healing when I also know he's got to make decisions in that? That's not I mean, like, yeah. Do I keep praying for that? Do I ask God straight up? Yep. And it's even that one might even be a little bit easier at times than like the cancer or the healing for someone, because like that one, they're making no decisions to stay in that condition.
Yeah, but Jason, I know I've met so many parents over the years that are so tired and they don't want to pray that prayer anymore for freedom of addiction for their children.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like I think they would resonate with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not I think it's not easy. I think they will never give up that prayer, but they are afraid that God will never answer it.
Or you pray that prayer for freedom and you don't know how God's going to answer it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good word. So what do you say to the people that are like, I don't want to ask God big prayers because he might say no?
I would say that you have to pray them anyway. And that sounds clunky. That could be hard. That could be unpolished. That could be raw. It doesn't make it any less messy. But I would say that if you have, any shred of trust with God, then you got to turn it over. And while I don't know what is on the other side of that, while I don't know if it'll be an ultimate miracle at the end, 100 miracles along the way, and still end in heart-wrenching, messy heartbreak, that I have to believe that God will see you, that he will be in it with you, just regardless of what's going to happen after that.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I think again we have to go back to we have a relationship with God. It's not transactional. So if it is transactional, and if it is I need to put in a few coins in the slot machine to get something out, then all of a sudden it does become like, well, did I put enough coin? Why even put coins? But if it's not about that, if it's about a relationship, it's not even about getting what I want. Mm-hmm. It's about coming to my heavenly Father, sitting in his lap as a with childlike faith and saying, I want this.
Yeah.
And knowing he might not, and that's okay. But it's not going to be because I wasn't asking.
Yeah.
And this is, I don't get it. I've prayed. We've prayed for healing for family members, and they died. We've prayed for healing for friends, and they've been. I can tell you stories of they have been healed. Some physically, some emotionally from chains that have weighed them down. So I've seen both, and I don't know. I'm not going to presume upon God why one and not the other. My invitation, our invitation, is to do what Jesus said in Matthew 7:7-8, when he said, "Ask, seek, knock." Yeah. Ask, seek, knock. Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you'll find. Knock, and the door will be open. For everyone who asks receives. The one who seeks finds. The one who knocks. Those are active words. They're not once and done. They're active. Keep on, keep on, keep on. And the invitation there is to relationship. It's not to a transaction. And if we think of God as transactional, we will get bitter and cynical very quickly, because we'll go, I thought I did all the right. I thought I put the coins in. I went to church. I prayed these prayers. I prayed every day. I started tithing. And it's like, oh. See, you thought he was a slot machine. You thought he was the slot machine. So it was never about that.
Yeah.
This is how he breaks us into relationship is, yeah.
But I think that 50% of the population are going to hear that and go, I get that. But there is another 50% of the population that are going to say, I know. What it does is it questions the goodness of God. If God can heal this person, but not this person, I don't want to ask God to heal.
Well, I would say that's pretty arrogant of us to to think we understand the cosmos and how things work together. And so another way of saying it is, do you really believe that just because you can't see any possible reason in the universe for these things to happen, that there isn't one? Like, do you really believe that just because you can't see one, that that one doesn't exist? So I just don't think you're that smart, and I'm not. Neither am I. So you're right. I'm not. That's not very comforting. Well, I mean, it kind of is, but I mean, in some way, it's like you're right. I don't get it. I don't know. I just know the invitation of Jesus was never you're going to get everything you asked for. The invitation was come into relationship with me and ask for these big things. Tell me the desires of your heart. And because why? Because that's what kids do with their dads.
Yeah.
That's when he said childlike faith. And he said we can relate to God now as our Heavenly Father through the work of Jesus Christ. So we're going to come boldly before the throne, what it says in Hebrews, because of the work that Jesus has done. We come boldly and we ask. We don't have to shy away. We don't have to go, God, if only you would, could you consider, we can go, God, I'm asking. I'm asking for you to heal. We went through this. I've talked about this with my nephew. You know, he's 15. We're not dancing around this. We need you to heal him. We're asking you to heal him. 4 days, and he passed. And after he's passed, you go, you decided not to. I don't get it. And I'm kind of ticked. But I love you. And I'll trust you. But I'm not happy.
Yeah.
And I think in those moments, if we believe, and I do, that our God is personal, I think his heart breaks too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think in the circumstances or the things that cause us pain, the things that have caused his children pain, I also think that he's heartbroken. Yeah. And I don't know how to reconcile all that, right? But I think that, especially in some of the scenarios we've been talking about, where it's just like, yeah, where choices have led to something that we wish it hadn't, and then God, like, where are you, right? Like, I think that God is just as heartbroken in some of those places as we are.
Yeah. Wow. It makes me think of, Jason, you had shared a time in your life that you had gone through something painful, and you had to ask Jesus, where were you during that painful time? What did Jesus say? Like, Well,
I was in counseling, and I remember the counselor actually asked me, and he was like, where was Jesus when all that was happening? The stuff that was like the sort of the inciting event for sort of the hurt and all that. And he's like, where was Jesus when all that was happening? And I remember I never thought about that. I never considered that. That thought had never crossed my mind until he asked me that. And but I knew right away. Like, I had a picture in my head. I had an image of, like, he was there in the room, and I could see Jesus, like, there in the room, weeping. So, I don't know why that was so, in that moment, comforting. Because I guess, in some ways, it's like, well, why didn't he stop it then? It's like, well, you don't really want to go down that road. Do we really want to be robots? Like, so he gives us the ability to make choices, and you know what comes with that risk? People are going to be stupid, and are going to do really hurtful things. And so I'm not going to blame Jesus for what that dude did.
Yeah.
That's letting that guy off the hook. Why did I ever blame God for what someone else did? That is so like that's letting them off the hook.
Yeah.
Boy, that'd be a nice way to live my life if I just blame God for everything. So I don't know. I just that was comforting.
I think because I think there's two sides to it. There's the reality that God is in control. But what Joanna said was what resonated with me and brought me back to that story was Joanna said, but he loves you and he weeps with you. So we have a God that's like, yes, I could have stopped it and I didn't because and you said, Jason, I have a plan.
Yeah.
There is a plan. There is a purpose. And now right after someone passes is not the time to hear that.
Right.
That God has a plan for this, because that's not the time to hear that.
Yeah.
But that is the time to know that God is weeping with you.
I think the one framing that I've had around this particular prayer and sort of topic that we're talking about here that's always been helpful for me is to pray, God, I believe you can even if you won't. Mm-hmm. And I believe you can even if you won't.
Mm-hmm. Love
that. I think the definition in some ways of a faith-filled prayer is I'm not saying you will, but I believe you can. So I'm not going to not ask. because I believe you can. But I'm also not pretending that I know better than you and that you aren't. So even if you won't, I will ask. That's up to you, but it's not going to be because I didn't. So I believe you can, even if you won't.
Do you feel like we have to pray that? Because, like, for instance, I know a lot of prayers are, God, heal him, but your will be done. I feel like that's the get out of.
Well, I think it's maybe. Well, first of all, that is definitely a New Testament prayer. That's Jesus in the garden.
Yeah.
God, Jesus, I don't want to go to the cross, but not my will, but yours. So I do think that there's a precedent for that. He didn't back down from asking though either. I don't want to go.
Yeah, even Jesus asked.
Yeah, he's saying
Jesus asked the most important linchpin in the entire universe, and Jesus was like, "Or."
Yeah, I don't
this.
think it's like a loophole. If I believe you can, even if you won't. I think it's acknowledging two realities, and I think it's living in the tension of two realities. God, I believe you can heal him, so I'm asking for that. Yeah. I'm not backing down. I'm not pretending I don't want that. I believe you can heal. You can physically, literally heal him. So please do it. And I believe that even if you won't. So that the fact that there's a risk, and I don't know how it's is not going to keep me from praying boldly right now. That's my point. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. I think that's what it frees you to do a little bit, is going, I don't know how it's going to turn out. And I don't know if you will. And I'll deal with that then, but I know you can. And so I'm asking you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Even if you won't do it.
So the last prayer is, God, I trust you. And I summarized all of them into this one at the beginning, is how can we trust God? How can we pray a prayer of trusting God when there's so many things we struggle to trust God with or in or through?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that this is, again, like back to that idea of repetition. Like, I think this is a prayer of repetition. And some of that, I think that doesn't mean the first time you say it, it's easy. That doesn't mean the most recent time you've said it, it's easy, right? Or like changes the outcome. But I think that prayer and repetition reveals and softens just like your heart and the way that you see things.
Yeah.
Again, like, also holding intention, that doesn't mean the answer is going to be tied up with a bow. That doesn't mean like the answer is going to be what I want to hear. But for me, that some of that repetition is also the constant reminder of turning it back over, because I also think that's like a prayer that's not like once and done. Like life's circumstances happen, things come into play. I want to hold back, whatever the thing is. That one to me is like, sometimes we'll talk about like, are your hands closed or are your hands open? Like the God, I trust you for me is that reminder of open posture. And I don't know, for me, I have to say it a ton. And that saying it and, almost like forcing myself to believe it. Right. And the more I say it, the more it feels real, the more, it comes.
Think about how that must make the heart of God feel when he hears us say, I trust you. Like how that must move the heart of God. When my 19-year-old daughter, like she's old enough now to where she can articulate feelings and all that. And when she tells me, I have so much respect for you. And when she tells me, Dad, I trust you, I want to give her the world. Like, because I love her and she's telling me she knows I love her. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. That moves my heart. I can't give her everything, and it wouldn't be right and good to give her everything. But my heart is so moved.
Wow.
When you just say, God, I trust you, that must be so, it must move God's heart so deeply to go, that's my they got my ear, So anyways, it's just such a powerful expression. Mm-hmm. And I liked your open-handedness sort of image.
I'll go back to Job. We spent a little time on Job, and I think that Job, God did something. Job was one of those that every part of the Bible, let's put it this way, every part of the Bible is really, really important, but not always important at this time. And there was seasons in my life where Job just confused me because it was like, why? But then you see, why did God tell Job all the things he'd done? He was setting up a track record. He was setting up a track record of goodness. He was like, who are you? It wasn't like, it's not like God was like flexing. God was saying, do you see me? Do you know me? And I think that's why there's this spirit of gratitude that is hand in hand with trust. It's this going back and saying, like, let's look. Where have you seen God be trustworthy? And I think the more we see how much goodness God is responsible for, all of a sudden it's like his track record is more than worthy of trust. And I think for me, that's why God in the Job passage was one of the reasons God said this, and this. He was showing, like, I'm trustworthy. I'm good. You don't need to question. I'm good. And I think for so many people that struggle with trusting God is it would take another act of reflection, like you said, Jason, which was reflecting, except this time instead of internally on who I am, it's reflecting on what has God done.
Yeah. And I think some of this too, and like we haven't really touched on this piece much, but yes, there is an absolute like one-on-one moment for prayer in all of these risky prayers. But there are going to be times where it's hard for you to trust. And so like borrow the faith and trust of others. I mean, I think we've talked a lot in just all the things that we've gone through, all the things we've walked with alongside other people. And so it's like, man, Chad, like you're dealing with this thing, like then borrow my trust. Wow. And like that is like the beauty of being a part of the body. Like God didn't call us into a relationship with him solo, right? He called it in context of us as a body of believers. And so I think there can be something so powerful. Like, yes, I think a private prayer life is rich and important, and we should have that one-on-one connection with God. But oh my gosh, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but like I have countless times where it's like, I don't have the words to pray. Can you pray for me? Can you pray with me? Can I share? Can I borrow your faith? And so I think there's something too that like,
I love that.
Yeah. Risky prayers don't have to be in isolation.
That's really powerful.
Which that might be, I know one of the things, Chad, you've written down to talk about is just how do we take the first step? That might be one of them. Surround yourself with people who will pray with you is a huge one. So put yourself in positions where you've got people. We talk about this a lot. Like we at LCBC, we've talked about like ladder holders. People are going to hold your ladder because they want you to go high. They want you to, if you got on a small ladder, you don't have to have someone holding it. But if you want to go high, you got to have someone holding that thing. That's the community. That's the power of community to go, man, I need people around me to pray sometimes those risky prayers when I am too afraid to or
I don't have the words.
Don't have the words.
What are the other things you'd recommend to get started? Like, because I think some people like maybe everyone listening has identified like one of these prayers to that they need to work on. That might be another next step is pick one. Pick one. Not all five. Like I used to, like I do for New Year's resolutions.
Well, pick one that's most relevant to your current life. And if you're like, I don't know where to start, I'll tell you, start with God search me. Because everything starts with a pure heart and clean heart before God. So if you're like, I don't know where to start there.
Everyone's like, maybe I will. Never mind.
One of the other four look appealing.
No, because you need freedom. You need freedom more than anything else. And freedom will unlock the other ones, honestly. But start small, pick one. And remember who God is. Remember his character.
Could you end us with an image of what you get, or an image of what happens when we start praying dangerous prayers, risky prayers?
I think the hope we have when we will pray these risky prayers is a level of intimacy with God we have not experienced. Intimacy comes on the other side of vulnerability, right? They're linked. That's true with every human relationship. The more vulnerable you are, the more intimate you will be. Same goes with God. These are vulnerable. That's why they're risky. You're not assured of the outcome. You will grow. You will deepen your intimacy with God by praying these prayers, by regularly praying risky prayers. The ones that, I'm not talking about the polished ones. I'm not talking about the ones everybody expects you to pray before lunch. I'm talking about the on my knees, 4-letter words at times, with tears in my eyes at times, confusion setting in at times. God, I'm depressed. God, that kind of stuff. And you give him space to talk, you'll love him more deeply, and you'll be loved and allow yourself to be loved more deeply. That's intimacy. Yeah.
Wow, this has been an incredible conversation. Thank you so much for tuning into the Live Change podcast. Remember, the risky prayers, the dangerous prayers, on the other side of them is a faith, hope, and trust that you can't even imagine. So be brave and start praying risky prayers. If you like this episode of the Live Change podcast, make sure you like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. Maybe Joanna will actually do some skydiving. We'll get her to do it. And as always, now that your life changed by Christ, live that change out.